Jen here with a layout for September's back to school hop. I know, I can't believe it. It's already September and the kiddos are back to school. So this is an annual hop that Sarah from Sarah Scraps puts on, and every year she invites her scrappy friends to come and join in and create layouts or projects with that back to school theme. There is sort of an underlying theme of back to school, but then she picks a larger theme for that particular year that we all can kind of work towards. So this year's theme is always a class act, and you can interpret that in any way you want to. But obviously for me, I hear class act and my brain went in two directions. One was I thought I would maybe document some of the awards and accolades and achievements that my kiddos got last year. Kind of thinking like class act in that way, that they earned some recognition for being good kids and being class acts. Or the other thing was to be more literal with the class part of it and document some of the classroom activities. Oh goodness, Arlo is searching for a friend right now. I don't know if you can hear him in the background. He is very chatty today. But yeah, so I kind of was thinking I could go in either direction, but I have this book fair collection that I got from Scrapshots that definitely is academic in nature. So back to school for sure. It has a few stickers and icons and things that say first day of school and back to class, that kind of thing. But also bookish, which is what I was really attracted to, with lots of library references and reading references and that kind of thing. So I thought I would really like to use this, and I think just the colors, the more primary colors, and some of the little images that are in there definitely made more sense to go with the classroom activity kind of direction for this particular theme, because I think that this collection just kind of suited my younger son and his kindergarten year a little bit more than what I might have done with my older boys. And so that's where I'm going. So I picked out some paper that I liked. I really like that composition paper. It gave me a nice, big, pretty neutral background that I could build off of. And I got a photo that was gifted to all of the kids in the kindergarten class last year from his teacher, a class photo that she had taken. So in the goodbye, in her little goodbye card, they all got a class photo, which was really sweet. And then I went ahead and popped onto Class Dojo and found a bunch of photos that she had posted with Landon in them specifically, and then printed a bunch of those out. So I just kind of took some random ones. She did such a good job of posting almost every day, which I really love, because I don't necessarily need to know exactly what my kids are up to at every moment. And definitely, I think personally, school time can be a time for them where it's their space and they don't need their parents kind of, everywhere in every part of their lives. And so I think it's nice that they can go to school or go to, dance class or swimming lessons or whatever, and have their time to themselves to kind of grow and learn and develop who they are and interact with people who aren't their parents. So I don't need to be updated every second of every day on what my kids are doing. But the difference between my oldest going to school and now my youngest going to school is definitely changed. And we definitely do get a lot more access to seeing pictures and things like that. And as a scrapbooker, I appreciate that, because I love to document those memories and have those kept somewhere for him. So I can definitely appreciate being able to go into Class Dojo and print out some of those pictures and kind of share some of those memories in his album, in all the kids' albums. And, and then they have those memories that they can go back and reminisce and access. So I definitely think that that's fun. And I do like that there is a lot more of that available with my youngest than there was for my daughter. I think Class Dojo became a thing for her maybe in grade two or three. So some of her teachers definitely utilized it. And I do have a few pictures for her from those earlier years. And she was blessed to have some really great teachers who took photos and at the end of the year gave them to us. So every child got a bunch of photos to be able to bring home. And a couple did scrapbooks, and same with my middle two as well. A few of their teachers did scrapbooks. A few more of their teachers utilized Class Dojo. So I have a few extra pictures from them, but still not as much as my youngest's kindergarten teacher did last year, because she really was phenomenal at taking videos and documenting everything, which is really appreciated. So it's kind of fun to be able to put something like this together and have some memories for him. They're not my memories. He'll have to remember what was going on in each of them. But, to be able to give him later on to be, able to look back on his kindergarten days. So I printed off from Class Dojo 20 teeny tiny little pictures. I literally just used my Canon Ivy Zinc instant printer, and you can actually make collages. So those print at about 2x3, and then I just split that into 4 and made a collage. So I have these tiny little photos. They're not super clear, because, they print at the quality of the printer, but I'm totally okay with that. It's mostly just for him to have something that he can look back on. It didn't have to be super clear pictures. So you can see here, those are the little zip stickers. That's what I happen to have, was the sticker pack. So they're adhesive on the back, and I just printed them. And so, there are 20 pictures and then the larger class photo in the center. And then to frame that, I was trying to think what would be in a classroom that might have information on it, or might be a place where you would post things like pictures or projects or whatever. And I've done some bookshelf layouts before, so I was trying to think of something else that I could do, and I thought a blackboard would be really fun. And so you can see I've completely filled my blackboard. Maybe if I didn't have quite that many photos, you would be able to tell that it was a blackboard in the background, but I'm okay with that. It was really about just getting all those pictures on there and seeing what I could do. But I essentially just took some black cardstock and rubbed some chalk over top of it. The camera tries to white balance the chalk, so it doesn't look from this video like it's super dusty and chalky, but in real life it actually is. It has lots of texture, and I rubbed it quite a bit, and I wrote on it and then rubbed that out, so you can see faint little marks from where the writing is, kind of like you would with a real chalkboard if it had been used and then erased and then used and erased. So I aged it and kind of chalked it up, and you can definitely see that a lot better in real life than you do on the camera. But kind of in the long run, I probably didn't need to do that because the whole thing is taken up with all of those pictures, and that's totally okay. They're really cute little photos, and I think it works out well in the end. I also would have preferred probably silver around the edge to kind of create that frame that you see on chalkboards, or something with wood, some sort of wood grain. But I could not find my piece of silver metallic paper. I think I've put it with all of my Christmas stuff. And I did find the gold, so I thought I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. I'll add the gold, and then I can use some gold alphas, and then I can also splatter with a little bit of gold. So it kind of worked out in the end that I was able to tie that gold in other places. But probably if I was looking to do this as more of a realistic chalkboard, I would have preferred some sort of silver or wood grain. But you do the chalkboard that works best for you. Or you could do a whiteboard if you wanted it to look more like a whiteboard. Or the other thing I was thinking, if I didn't kind of like the chalkboard, I could have got some felt. I always have really cheap felt that I pick up at Dollar Tree and Dollarama that I use for crafts and things. And so I could have gotten some green felt and maybe it made it look like a felt pin board or bulletin board, and then that could have worked as kind of a place where all the pictures were being hung. So, you could take that larger section and turn it into whatever you think works for you. And then I'm literally just layering up some of my favorite little pieces from the ephemera pack. I also had these back to school cards. I think that those are actually Project Life cards, and they're quite old, so I don't take my word for it, but I think that they are from an actual Project Life kit, and I think it was like I can't remember what it was called, but I think it had cards from all the different seasons: Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Valentine's, like Easter, spring kind of thing, some summer ones, and back to school, maybe even some wintry ones. I can't fully remember. It's if that is right and that is where they came from, then they are probably at least 10 to 12 years old. And I've sort of been going through my cards and getting rid of a lot of them, donating them, not getting rid of them. But I like to keep the back to school stuff because I don't scrap a lot of back to school. And so I don't tend to buy a lot of the brand new collections when they come out. And I'd rather go and kind of check through my stash and just see what I have available. And so I tend to keep those, and they're separate from the rest of my stuff. So I found those cards and I thought they worked good with the red because the primary colors all kind of go well together. And then I pulled out a few of the elements from the little journaling ephemera. I was looking for anything that had the word class on it just to kind of go with that theme and really drive that home. And I only found the one thing that said class schedule, but I found something that said daily grind. So that kind of, goes with just the day-to-day class concept. And then a few little tabs and a few little, bookmarkers and things like that. So those are the elements that I kind of threw on there. From the foam sheet, I'm just grabbing a couple little paper clips and that kind of thing. I just was embellishing. I just liked the layers, but I didn't necessarily feel like I had to add a ton of extra stuff. I just wanted a few little layers, a few little pops of colors. I found that really, really old. I don't even know how to describe them anymore. They're like clear coated stickers from Sticko. They're probably from Michaels. And so I found some of those. And so I popped a couple stars and things on there. I think the one that I put down by the owl says school days. So yeah, just a few little touches and embellishments and cute little things. They brought in some texture and kind of brought in just something a little bit shiny and different. They're a little glittery. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then I'm sort of just playing around, and you'll see me do that a few times, kind of fuss with those photos, because in my brain I was thinking, I want you to at least get a bit of an impression that is a chalkboard. So I was trying to figure out how I could make a little bit more space in there. Yeah. And then it was on to the title. And so it did take me a second to try to figure out what I wanted to do for a title. I really, really wanted to use more of the supplies. And so I decided I was going to make this work, the school vibes. That's from the chipboard. And I really wanted to make that work. So again, I'm going to have to shift a few things around, but we will get there in the end. I just think the school vibes kind of worked well. And I was really trying to get as much of this collection used up on here as I possibly could. So I moved that little, what are we going to call those? Just the little sticker. I switched the two. So I had the little star, like the stars with the happy faces that you would get on your work if you did a really good job. That kind of a star. I moved that and the little thing that said school days, switched those so I had a bit more space for my school vibes title to go in there. And I have a lot of stuff popped up with foam. So I was trying to build a little bit of dimension. And then the last thing that I also want to do is somehow bring in the title. I think I've done this every year. Whatever Sarah calls the hop for that year, I have tried to go ahead and put that somewhere on my layout. So usually it makes sense that that's the title of the layout. In this case, I'm going to make just a little kind of subtitle to pop that in there. But right now I'm thinking about where I want that to go and how I want that to go. So I did some journaling. I filled in the class schedule. I just wrote things like recess and play and have fun with friends, that kind of thing. And then a little journaling just to remind myself that this is Landon's kindergarten year. So you can kind of see there. And now I'll make my little title. And this is where the gold kind of worked out because I could go ahead and bring in some extra gold with these little alphas. This pack of alphas I have had for such a long time. Yeah, and they just keep going. But I thought this one was kind of, nice and a little bit blocky. And you can't really see it because the red kind of, fades it into the background a little bit. It doesn't stand out in super contrast to the red, but I didn't want to start adding more layers down below because there's so much going on with the pictures. So everything that I tried to stick into those two ephemera kind of, layered sections, as we'll call them, embellishment cluster sections. I really wanted them to have more solid bold colors so that they weren't adding too much extra noise to the layout. But that is it for me. I am all done for this year's hop. Please check out everybody down below. Hop along, enjoy. I hope your kiddos all had a great first day back at school, and you will see me again soon. So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Happy scrapping. Bye.